everybody's heard the saying that God works in mysterious ways, right? He really does, though. Sometimes over many years, and you don't even know it, really. But then he brings you full circle to something. And I'm saying this because I've made it a point to really call out American Nurses Association. And for good reason. But I never realized how it really ties back to something that happened to me 13 years ago at my first nursing job. And I'm not saying I'm calling them out because of that, but what happened at that job was so morally depraved and at leadership, and everybody from the Illinois Nurses Association to the paper, Chicago Trib, to the nun running that hospital, everybody doing the wrong thing. And yet Illinois Nurses Association knew who the chief nursing officer was that made this accusation against me, which is why the lawyer for Illinois Nurses Association did nothing to help me. And it was so baffling. Like, what? I am doing the right thing here. I'm speaking up. I didn't know how connected it all was back then, though, that they all knew each other. And really, we had just voted a union in. We didn't have a contract, but it was designed. It was a union that was meant to fail, so that the nun could get out in front of the press 2 years later and say, we need to close this hospital because we can't afford a nursing union. And then some globalist company came in and bought it up. So that's the reason the lawyer didn't really want to help me. I mean, when does a lawyer ever do anything because it's the right thing? I mean, really. I mean, I'm sure there's one or two out there that do, but likely not. But at every turn, everybody was doing the wrong thing. And then it made sense when I realized, oh, well, they're all covering for each other. They're all a bunch of socialists. And then, all these years later, it brings me to American Nurses, because Illinois, every state nursing association is tied to American Nurses Association. So when National Nurses United and American Nurses Association were carrying on about the border when Trump was in office, I thought, what? How? You're nurses? You set the standard of care for my profession, and you're carrying on about Trump? Because they supported open borders, because they're socialists. If you're on board with the United Nations or the World Health Organization, you're actually a globalist, so even worse. But, so they were always going to be against secure borders, which means they don't care that people are trafficked, which is disgraceful. But then I look back 13 years ago, on a small level, how everybody, all those socialists, and that's what they were. See, socialists don't set out to hurt you, but if you get in their way, they'll squash you. So the reason I say that God works in mysterious ways is because, well, what happened to me, 13 years ago, people used to tell me all the time, just get over it. And I did, but I never could fully get over it because it was so heinous. It was a level of depravity that was like nothing I had seen. A nun is a liar. The chief nursing officer who graduated, the Jesuit sorority at Loyola and taught forensic nursing at University of Illinois Chicago, and she was an NP in the psych department, comes over to where the hospital I'm at to be the new chief nursing officer. And yet made out like, she opposes the union, but she knew who they were and they knew who she was. Because, see, I mentioned this before, Illinois Nurses Association's biggest contract is University of Illinois Chicago. They actually used University of Illinois Chicago's contract to, like, when they're going to talk to other nurses and stuff, like at other hospitals, they show them. That's the contract they use because they have a good contract. So she was My chief nursing officer that came from there, she knew who they were, which is why the lawyer never helped me. So at every level, from the federal to having to be interrogated, and nothing I did wrong. There was no accusation. They just made something up. Because they didn't want, well, they literally, nobody from the union lawyer to, it was all an inside job to help that freestanding psych hospital be able to tell the state we can't afford it. We can't afford it anymore because we have a nursing union in now. I just got in the way because I fought back. Because I was on the bargaining team. I don't want to get into all that. My point is then when I saw them going after Donald Trump, I looked into American Nurses Association and saw how, oh, not only are all your state nursing associations tied to American Nurses Association, I knew that, but they're tied, American Nurses Association is tied to Global Nurses United, and then from there, National Nurses United, and of course, the International Nurse Council. And all moral bankruptcy. Moral bankruptcy. To this day, none of those professional organizations that set the standard of care are even mentioning the pandemic of trafficking. They can't. They supported open borders because they align with globalists. They're socialists, but really they're globalists, so communists. Now, I'm not saying everybody that works for those associations is. They likely are just being hoodwinked. But see, here's the thing. This is the reason I'm saying this, is how God works in mysterious ways. Because God knows that I've prayed so many times through the years about, why, God? Why is this happening? Because then after leaving that job a couple years later, I went on to another job where the assistant chief nursing officer from that first job was my educator at another place. And because I stood up for the right thing there, she changed the narcotic count in Apixis. Because they want to get you, they play games like that. It's a corrupt system, because if you fight it, no matter what, if the hospital's trying to get you to quit, that's what they'll do. I'm not saying it in every profession, but yeah, that happens in psych. Well, it happens depending on how morally bankrupt, some people are. This educator was just as morally bankrupt then as she was back when, she was involved in all that, accusing me of something they all knew was a lie. Worst thing you could accuse somebody of, too. And I was a brand new nurse. But see, here's the thing. So they do that stuff because then you quit. And because if you fight it, like I fought it at my first nursing job, and if you fight something if you fight it, like you don't have to say you're guilty of anything, but you just have to quit. That's the whole goal, get you to go. So at my first nursing job, though, I rescinded the resignation because my rep, who was a good guy, the rep for Illinois Nurses Association, he was innocent in all of it. It was the lawyer for that place that was in on this whole take that was going on. But it was him that told me to rescind it. The problem is when you rescind it, well, then the liars are going to make the case, and they never could. That's the reason they tried to abuse a patient. I mean, I'm not going to go into all this. I've said the story too many times, but it made me see how really it all came full circle, because all these years of praying to God that I don't understand. I mean, I know it's a corrupt world, but what am I supposed to do, God? I'm standing up for the right thing. So God preps you. That's what I realized through the last few years, is that God prepares you and says, no, I'm gonna use you sometime for something greater. I'm gonna take what you think is a weakness because these people squashed you so many times, and then I'm gonna turn it on them. Because through all of that, I will have built you up to be a strong warrior. And then one day, you won't just be calling out some hospital. You'll be calling out the whole diseased, corrupt nursing professional organizations at the top. Yeah. When you've crushed somebody too many times, believe me, they just become stronger and come for you.